What's up, BookTube? James here. Another video. Today we're doing a review. We ain't done one of them for a while, but I've actually got a few in the pipeline, so do stick about because the end of the year is nigh upon us. I probably won't read many more books this year. There's only a couple of weeks left to go. Really struggling to find a book to read actually at the end of the year, but that's irrelevant because today we're doing the first review of a series. I've got 3 reviews in the hopper to do. This is going to be the first one because in my budding quest to be relevant, I've chosen to review Artemis by Andy Weir. You knew that already from the title, but now I'm holding it up as though it was a surprise. So, Artemis by Andy Weir. You may recognise the name Andy Weir. A couple of years ago, he wrote a book called The Martian. It was like a minor hit. You may have heard of it. I think there was like a film made of it with Matt the Damon in it. Yeah, it was pretty good, actually. It was one of my favourite reads of last year, because I didn't get round to it till last year, because I am inevitably incredibly slow with everything. But this time, I went out, I bought the hard copy, the hardback copy of Artemis, because I was really excited, because I thought The Martian was really good. And it turns out that The Martian is actually really good, but Artemis isn't. And I was really disappointed by Artemis. I gave it initially, when I reviewed it on Goodreads, I gave it 3 stars. If you go back at the time of uploading this video, you'll find that it's now been reduced to 1 star because I thought about it more with my brain, and there's a lot of things wrong with it that I'm going to tell you about right now. But here's my first suspicion that this book wasn't going to be very good. Is if you look all over the book for blurbs by other authors. You know, you normally get one on a book that says, oh, this is his defining work or whatever, you know. If you look on the back of this book, you'll find here is praise for The Martian, which this book isn't The Martian. So that's off-putting right away. But The Martian's there on the cover as well. They really want you to know that Andy Weir wrote The Martian. And to be honest, the first problem is, if you read this book, you'll just remember reading The Martian, because all of the characters in this book are in fact Mark Watney, who was the main character from The Martian. It turns out that Andy Weir has written a character that people liked so much, apparently including himself, that he thought the best thing to do would be to do another book where this time everybody is Mark Watney. And by that I mean all of the characters in this book are crass, glib, banter-driven losers. Basically, all of the characters in this book are the same character. They all have the same sense of humour. They've all got the same way of speaking to each other. This goes for characters like the main character's dad, who is a devout Muslim, but finds it pertinent to make a sex joke about his daughter in a pub with other men around. It's really weird. It's off-putting, to be honest. Like, I couldn't really get invested in any of the characters because they were all the same, and they weren't very good. I think Mark Watney in The Martian worked in that setting, in that story, because it was like a survivor's story and he's being a jerk to keep his morale up, basically. But in this book, the main character's hardship is that she's poor, and she's poor because she can't be bothered to get a job, even though for some reason Andy Weir has decided that this character is a super genius savant at everything she tries to do, even things that she would need to be trained to do. Like, there's a bit where she invents something and like an actual inventor's like, you couldn't possibly have done this. Who taught you how to invent things? And she says, I did it myself last night. And he's like, oh my God. and I was like, fuck off. So that's the characters. No stars for characters, I'm afraid, Andy. Second of all, let's talk about the plot. Originally, I thought the plot was actually pretty good, but on later reflection, I realised the plot was really dumb because lots of things happen for no fucking reason at all. So basically, the plot of this book is it's about a girl called Jazz who lives on the moon in Artemis, which is this moon city. And she's hired by this other guy to do a sabotage job in order to get loads of money, which she needs for reasons that are deliberately obfuscated until the end of the book for some reason. So she wants to get loads of money, basically, and rather than get a job and be a productive member of society, she just decides to do this instead. So she does this, and then shenanigans ensue. It's essentially I've seen people online calling it a heist book, but she's not stealing anything, so it's not really a heist so much as it is just being a cunt. So the main character is this dickhead who does some crime and is never rightfully punished for it, I don't think, at any point. I don't know what the point of it was, of the plot. I don't know why she wants to do this crime. It's, as I say, we find out near the end why she wants to do the crime, but it's a dumb reason. And while she's doing the plot, this is the biggest problem with the plot. It poodles along at a good pace, good enough. After a slow start, may I add. Let's just interject there. The start of this book is like a really weird false start, and it like gets to almost halfway and then seems to start again. I don't really know. It does a good job of building up sort of the city, kind of, but the plot sort of starts, goes to halfway, and then sort of starts again for no reason. So that happens. But basically, whilst she's going along with this, because the way the character is written, she never really fails at anything. She's never allowed to fail at anything. All of the things that set her back are just like accidents that just are unfortunate. Like even right at the start, what would essentially be the prologue. I'm not sure if it's called prologue or chapter 1. It doesn't really matter. I think it is just chapter 1. But basically right at the start, something happens to her that's like, oh, I did the perfect job. And he's like, well, a misfortune that wasn't your fault happened, so you failed. And that's sort of basically how it works. So every time Jazz had to do something, I wasn't like, ooh, I wonder if she'll fuck it up. Because she won't. She won't fuck it up. The only real tension is something unfortunate going to happen near her that ruins it, but doesn't really. And it's all quite boring, which isn't good when you've got a high stakes sort of thriller thing going on. I'm not worried if she's going to fail. It's just sort of like, well, what's she going to pull out of her ass to get this done? And that's what I thought. I was tricked initially when I read the book and I put it down and I was like, wow, I mean, like, she came up with the perfect idea, like, every time. Like, she must be a super genius. And then I realised that that's not true. It was actually all just a contrived nonsense, because any possible setback that she might encounter, she just magically had something in her brain pouch to deal with the problem, like with no background to it. Like this thing with the invention that I saw, was just like, oh, I've got this problem to solve. I better just invent something no one's ever done before. Fuck it, do it overnight, whatever. Just fit it in the time frame. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't make a difference to me. So yeah, that was actually a load of old crap. The writing style is very juvenile, especially with the dialogue and the characters. The dialogue but it made me want to be sick a lot of the time. Not good. I would say everyone talked in quips. It was like reading a really shit Marvel film, like one of the worst ones. Like everyone just did back and forth banter, and it was all like, "You're a dick," and he's like, "Haha, you like penis." And like that's literally what the dialogue is like in this book. You think I'm exaggerating, and I wish I was fucking exaggerating, but I wasn't. I'm not. I'm just not exaggerating. The other problem is you'll see this book is actually quite thin. It clocks in the UK edition at least at 305 pages. I think he didn't really have much of a plot to go with, because there's like a lot of these bits that are interspersed where Jazz emails someone about things that are irrelevant to the book. There's a character in there called Dale, and he's her best friend. And he's included in the book just to be an extra pair of hands, really, towards the conclusion. But there's like a really contrived love triangle plot that he's involved in. The third member of the triangle is mentioned a couple of times, but never seen in the novel. And Jazz is like, the conflict between her and Dale is about this third guy, because of reasons. She says that she loved this other guy, but we never see that. We're just told in an email, and that's good storytelling. If you can not show anything in your book and actually just summarize things that we didn't see happen in emails, that's actually how you become a best-selling author. If you just publish emails between you and your editor about things that you could have put in the book but you didn't. If you just do that and just change the names to the main character's name and some other guy's name, and then just have all of the characters have no real motivation for doing any of it, and then introduce some random plot elements that no one will care about. That's how you write a good book. Artemis is 11 billion out of 10 stars. It's not 11 billion out of 10 stars. I'm changing the rating to 1 star because I did sort of enjoy it while I was reading it, although I'm now thinking about it, considering giving it 0 stars, because I mean, if I had to read it again, I probably would be upset. So actually, yeah, confirmed 0 stars. Didn't really enjoy it. Writing was pretty bad. Characters were fucking terrible. The plot was a bit of a mess all over the place, contrived, and really the pacing was laughable. 0 stars, didn't really achieve anything of worth. Give it a miss, and do better next time, Andy, okay? See you later.